All right. Yeah. So for today, what I wanted to do, we're in the very first week of the semester. 15 weeks is actually a really long time for a semester. Usually in the first week of classes, so we did have one student drop. There might be new people. But like I said, this is the first time I've done a graduate level class in a long time. And some of you said you were here because you want a graduate experience. And I don't really know what you're getting in your graduate programs. If anyone's ever really talked to you about being a graduate student, is that a thing? Do they give you like a boot camp on being a graduate student? Is that a thing? Kinda. Okay. What is it? What do they do? I'm just curious.
Sometimes they just talk about expectations, like you're doing things a little more independently sometimes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Yeah. So my perspective on this is, as I said last class, I really am trying to, as best as I can, sort of prepare you to go. And most of you said you're interested in getting jobs. That seems to be the main purpose here. Not many of you are talking about PhDs and all that. So my perspective is graduate students in the age of AI and post-COVID professionalism. I thought that was something I thought might be interesting to talk about. So just out of curiosity, how many of you were in school of some form during the pandemic, either undergraduate, high school, basically all of you? So probably in a very formative part of your educational experience in your life, you had to deal with Zoom and the world turned upside down, right? That was the thing of your sort of, I'm guessing you all are roughly about the same age, including Max back there. You all sort of grew up in the pandemic. And so that has in my, and I've seen it with students, it's even me too. It's shaped us how we now interact in our professional lives and so forth. So, and on top of that, we're now in the age of AI, and that has really quickly taken over everything, it seems, especially the university here. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about these things. Now, in a graduate level class specifically, I want to talk about this point. In class discussion, I, as much as I love to sit here and listen to myself talk, when I look out in the room and I see people dozing off, I don't want it just to be me talking one direction at you. I really do genuinely want to hear what you have to say, okay? And so you're sort of expected to think, and this is something I've learned over the years. I would just say, I'm interested in what you think, right? The culture of the United States, or at least the educational program that I went through, I'm interested in what you have to say. I don't see myself as a higher level that I'm just talking down to you and you're just going to parrot back what I say because I'm the professor and I'm this all-powerful being. I'm not that at all. I'd like to think we're colleagues. You guys are junior colleagues. I've just been alive longer, but you are my colleague. And so I really want to hear what you have to say. And I want you to, you're welcome to argue with me. I'm not perfect. I admit all that. And we're also supposed to be a supportive environment here. Okay. You should feel comfortable in the room speaking. Okay. Even if you don't want to speak. I noticed just, you want to move maybe further back, and that's fine. That was more for the room, but we're here to support each other and so forth. Now, for my own fun, I brought back this idea that I used. I don't know how much I'll really use this thing. I brought back the old name picker. So I noticed a lot in classrooms when you start asking people to talk. Let's say out of a class of 10 people, there's usually about 2 or 3 people are the only ones that ever respond. And the dynamic of the room so this is a thing this idea I used a long time ago. I thought it might be fun to try it. So if I ask you a question and nobody's offering, I have the name picker. So the way it works is if I click the pick a name, oh, it's not on the screen. I'm sorry. Also, too, you have to stop me if I start rambling on about something that's not on the. Okay, there was a picture of it in the slides. Here's name picker. So I don't know if this will give you a moment of terror or not, but the way it works is, so I ask one of you, what is the temperature today? Jay Goodman. That's how it works. Okay. So it's supposed to be fun, but I really do genuinely want to hear from all of you, and I don't want it to just filter down to the same people that always seem to reply. So we'll give that thing a whirl later and see how it goes. When I did teaching, my very first teaching, anybody ever heard of Visual Basic? I think I'm getting really old now. No one's ever heard of Visual Basic. You heard it? Is it still a thing even? So back a long time ago, when I used to work in private, I used to be like more of a tech, everyday tech. I wrote a very similar tool in Visual Basic. Now I used Python with ChatGPT. I just told it what I wanted. So that's my name picker to get us to talk. Okay. Yeah, let's see. So what I'll probably do is I'll go like this. Okay. All right. So let's start a discussion. We kind of heard a little bit, assumptions for graduate students. So maybe some of you have thought about this, but let me try my little thing out here. Ayuba?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think the distinctions are between a graduate student and an undergraduate student? What are your thoughts on that?
So my very first decision would be reading.
Reading. Okay.
So
okay. That's good. Okay. Yeah.
So like as an undergraduate student, I've had graduate students in my class.
Yeah.
They're expected to have more responsibility and expected more work, basically.
Okay. More work.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, please.
I would say I would agree with that, but I would also say that it's more independent work, right? You're taking fewer classes,
Okay.
but you have to complete all of that.
Okay. So volume seems to be the more reading, more work, but independence, that's kind of different. Any other? Yeah, please. Yeah.
It's tailored more to your specific interests.
Okay. All right. There's no right or wrong answers. I'm just wondering if you guys ever really thought about that, like this distinction. Yeah.
I would also say I think a major factor is that you start to have your own life. Essentially, like in undergrad, even though you're legally an adult, you are oftentimes living on campus, all of these other things.
Right.
As a graduate student, you're seen as an adult who is also going to school, but you have your own life to live.
Okay. Yeah, please.
I'm not really sure how many credit hours the master's program entails, but I know there's a lot of credit hours to catch up on the undergraduate year and different circumstances.
Right.
So it feels like you're at school for longer as an undergraduate, as opposed to like she said, you have your own life and you're out there doing things by focusing on parts of your education.
Okay. All right. Do we? Any other thoughts? Anybody want to chime in? I don't have to use name. Oh yeah, please. Yeah.
Sometimes when people choose to be a graduate student, it's more of like a personal decision than like getting your undergraduate degree, like the other different pressures from society or the community.
Right. Good point. Like mom and dad kind of make you go to college, whether you wanted to or ready to. Whereas graduate student, you're ready to really do. Yeah. I think that kind of ties into my points about it. In my notes, I have, to me, the distinction between, and you guys have kind of said this too, to me, you cross the line. You are a mature, responsible, serious student. You're taking graduate classes because you want to take them. You're not doing it because you don't. Sometimes people do that. You're not doing because you don't know what else to do with yourself. And people do that. They get PhDs because they can't. But you're serious. So you show up to class on time. You don't miss class without notifying a professor. So there's a couple people I haven't learned. A couple people. One guy did drop. A couple people just aren't here. But one person did email me and say he wasn't going to make it. Which, for a day like today, of course, the weather's terrible or was terrible. But that's the kind of thing. You're professional. You're on time. You're here because you want to be here, right? You've done the readings. You're prepared to come to class. And like when you're asked to do something, like you do it. Like keep in mind, I'm always going to, ask you to. Everything I ask you to do has a reason behind it. I don't just make things up for my own pleasure of just nothingness. Okay. And then so the whole idea too, just I'm too busy. The lesson on that is if you ever come up, people, I find this all the time, frankly, in my other parts of my job. I'm too busy. Oh, I couldn't get to it. I'm too busy. Oh, or people that take on things. Oh, I'll be part of your team. Oh, I'm too busy. Well, if you're too busy, then be realistic about what you can actually do, right? Because if you just say you're going to do something and then you say you're too busy later, and when I talk about your identity, really will suffer. And you guys probably have dealt with this with other students on student teams, but it happens in life in general. So be realistic. So you're going to be all ambitious and take 19 credits as an undergraduate. Can you really handle that on top of everything else? And then other basic stuff, not playing around with your phone and so forth like that. And like I said, I'll try to keep this as interesting and engaging as possible. But, especially in a graduate level class, if you're just constantly, zipping away on your phone, it's kind of not, it's a different level here. So any questions of that? I mean, I don't know if there's anything really earth shattering or revealing, but if no one's ever really just kind of said this to you clearly, take that perspective in life, beyond just this class, because we're talking also about professionalism and getting jobs and so forth. So, okay. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So this goes back to my old professor from Penn State. As graduate students, I expect you will all get A's, right? That is the bar here. That's what I'm saying. That's saying, not to stress you out, but like, I'm expecting things will be turned in on time. You'll do your best to do, to accomplish things that you didn't blow it off. You didn't plagiarize. You didn't slip right into AI and just do things, And by the way, as a side comment, if, again, assuming that you did the reading, the critical spatial thinking reading, she talked about spatial thinking. I'm going off on a little tangent, but this guy here, Professor Downs, he was one of the original kind of intellectual leaders on spatial thinking, and he's actually cited in that paper. So, but he was one of my people a long time ago that I still kind of remember. And so maybe you guys too will do that as you go forward in your careers. You'll have a professor. I know we talked a little bit about Callie Babbitt. She's a really amazing professor, if you're working with her. And, she's the kind of person, if you're working directly with her on research and stuff, she will leave a lasting shadow in your life, as she should, because she's really great. All right. So professionalism, let's talk about that. Okay. COVID is a formative professional experience. So the reason I asked you guys about this, because a lot of you have kind of started your careers and your education during COVID, right? It was a pretty extraordinary kind of thing to start your lives out at, or wherever level you were at. So think back to those days, the dark ages of what was it? It's COVID-19, 2000. We all had to deal with it, right? All of a sudden, the whole world stopped. We were all home. We just wore our pajamas all day long, right? So everything was async. I mean, a lot of times asynchronous. Was that for you guys? Was it asynchronous a lot? You get the instructions, go do it, figure it out, or you do a Zoom call, right? Yeah. And how many times did you do Zoom calls and your cameras were off? I don't know if that was a thing for you. Sometimes they made you turn the cameras on to turn the camera on, but you secretly probably wanted to turn it off.
I would upload a picture.
Yeah. How many of you though or even in Zoom meetings nowadays, you're in Zoom meetings and everybody's cameras are off, right? So it doesn't feel as connected. What do you think? Accountability was softened. Does anybody relate to that? You know what I mean by that? Accountability was softened. Anybody want to share a personal example of that, if you can remember? Yeah.
I was in college when COVID.
Yeah.
And I think that all of a sudden people couldn't do it. People who had said they would do things were doing things. And personally, a sickness became a really good excuse to say, "Oh, I'm not feeling well." And personally, one of the classes was, "Oh, you have a video class."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was, oh, I'm not feeling well. I need to not do it. Instead I would do it.
Right. So play the COVID card. Oh, I'm not feeling well. I think I might have COVID. Therefore, I'm taking the rest of the month off. Whatever. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Totally. Yeah. And as a side comment, I call it last minute illness. That's a very common thing. Oh, I woke up this morning and I'm now deathly sick. So yeah, either disease is spread quickly during the evening, or physical presence was optional, right? We all got really comfortable with not having, I mean, in some level, we're probably even still dealing with it. Thank you for coming to class. Thank you for, I don't know where you guys live or what your lives are. I mean, I live in Hilton, so I had to get out. I had to shovel my truck off of all the snow and drive in here, because because I'm professional, it's an in-person class. So that's my professionalism. I have to be here. I didn't wake up sick. Sure, I mean, on some level, yeah, I would have loved to stay home on a snowy day, but like, I'm here for you. I work for you. So that's what my job is and what I have to do. Even though I could just say, oh, we're doing Zoom class today. I mean, there may be times we have to do that, but like, RAT didn't cancel. A lot of my friends who are K through 12 teachers had a snow day today, even like last night. Not us. We're here to come in person, right? And that kind of, I mean, that last point, boundaries between school, work, and personal life were kind of blurred. Can anybody relate to that? Yeah. Right. I mean, you just kind of were home all the time. You kind of just went to the one room where your computer was, put a background on so no one could see what you're doing. And does anybody still feel like that's kind of the case now for them? There's no real, it all just kind of blurs together, your personal. Yeah, please.
I think like also before like your home used to be where you would go to be home and be done with school.
Right.
Whereas now it's become for a lot of people their place of work.
Right.
So that boundary is definitely not existent for a lot of people.
Right. And you've heard a lot of like companies are kind of starting to push back. Everyone was being remote workers, and now they're kind of making people come back in the office for that reason. And you know what? I'll tell you guys, like, I've worked at home for years, like probably 20 years. I've had, long before the pandemic, I had an at-home work at home job, and it's awesome. It really is. But it does have a downside when you're home all the time. And if you've got it to where you've evolved your life that you never have to leave, then that line just becomes blurred. You have to sometimes force yourself to go out, or some people make a special part of their home is like their office. So that sense of going to work, the transition in the morning, getting in the car, driving, getting a cup of coffee. I like to listen to the radio, when I think COVID exacerbated that for a lot of people. So here's my question on all this. What professional habits did you develop during COVID that helped you survive, but maybe now are holding you back? If that sounds relatable. Anybody? Is that a relevant question to anybody? Okay. Yeah.
So just touching on like Zoom meetings and working remote, I feel like during COVID we had to work a little bit harder to connect with people when they were finding
Yeah.
online, but now I feel like people have lost the value of seeing some face to face. So
Okay.
it's kind of holding us back now how to connect with people. Not the ability to connect with someone that's really working from home or like across the state.
Okay. Yeah. So really, if I understood that, like, it's easy, like it became easy to not have to really work on building an impersonal relationship because it's just a Zoom call or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Right on. Yeah. Yeah. Max, please.
So I don't have internet connection at home.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't have it. So I have to come to IT to watch the videos. And like I didn't have a smartphone.
Okay.
So before the COVID came, I had to listen to
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then what do you guys think? What felt normal back then that might seem unprofessional now in the workplace? Yeah.
Like an in-person workplace or just like
Yeah, I think with just the workplace in general. Like even coming to school, like this is the workplace.
Well, definitely like in terms of school, I think when it was like online school, I know it would be a thing where if you would come early, you would still be like in the waiting room, whereas if you came like directly on time, you would be like automatically let in. But if you were to like do that like in person in the workplace, coming in on time, I guess like my parents raised me on the thing like you show up on time, you're definitely late.
Oh, okay.
I feel like now like walking in as the class is starting can be seen like a little bit of professional. You should only show up like a few minutes early.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree with that. I was also kind of raised in that early is on time, late.
Okay,
But
interesting.
I think that a huge thing with COVID was that there's such a short transition time. You get up in 10 minutes. You only need to get up 10 minutes before
Right.
whatever it is you're going to do. Now you gotta get fully dressed.
Yeah, time management. Right. Right. Any other thoughts on that? Things that were normal back then that might seem unprofessional now? No. I'm gonna just have fun with you guys to illustrate your points. The one thing that drives me the most nuts when I'm teaching is this. You know what I'm simulating here? People that are showing up late and they close the door. In fact, I'm gonna close the door. That's the one thing that drives me nuts. So that just is me just getting up for a second. Show you, like, yes, the class starts at 2, get here at 1:55. You show up right at 2 o'clock, And I tend to be, that's just how I am. I tend to start on time. There's always a lot to talk about. They say that as professors get older, they're more lax. Like, he comes 10 minutes late. That's just not my style. But yeah, the door constantly opening and closing, drives me nuts. Okay. Thank you for the discussion points on that. So let's talk next about AI is cognitive outsourcing. So I think this is one of the newest things that as educators, we're definitely behind the scenes. You guys wouldn't know much about as much about this, but like we have lots of committees that are talking about the role of AI in education. And is it how do we use it? It's there, and what are the issues we're finding with it? So cognitive outsourcing, right? And I don't know if you guys can relate to this or not, but AI makes it easy to you don't have to struggle with things. You can just put a prompt in, it spits something back at you. What do you think? What do you think synthesis? What do you think I mean by that? Cognitive outsourcing and synthesis. Yeah. Yep.
Summarizing without analyzing, just boiling down the points,
Mm-hmm.
and AI makes it easy to do that, where it just spits out. You just have to synthesize the information that it's giving you, rather than putting it.
Right. So as we get further into the semester and we start doing like especially more research oriented kinds of projects where you have to like read papers, that's the synthesis process, right? So if I'm studying a topic and I read these number of papers, I have to use my mind to synthesize it all together and put that into the final thing. AI can just do it for you, right? I need to know about, whatever topic. There it is. Like I didn't have to, I just cognitive outsourcing. My brain was there. Yeah. So here's some questions I had in this. When does AI use cross the line from assistance to abdication? And maybe I'll use name picker on this one because we've kind of we've been hearing from some of the same people. It's not here. Oh, we've heard from you several times, right? Max, what do you think? Mm-hmm. Okay. George. Oh, George. George called in sick. More. How do you actually say your name?
No, just more.
More. When do you think? When do you think you cross the line between like AI assisting you versus abdication? Where do you think that might happen?
When you don't question like what you get from that AI, it's just like you put in some input and then it gives you output and you're like, okay, that's when you cross that line because you have to question what everything. You have to do your own.
Right. I mean, probably no one would want to admit to this, but I mean, sometimes I fall into that trap, right? I mean, I need something quickly. It's easy to just put the prompt in and get something out that does the job. But we'll talk more about prompt engineering, but especially when I have knowledge of something already versus like I just inflate my mind with things from AI that I don't really fully understand, right? So I think that could be the issue. Okay. All right. So move on to this next point. So AI and COVID convergence. What do I mean by this? Okay. So if we agree that COVID normalized distance decay, delay, and disengagement, right? We were all far away, teachers, students, we weren't on campus here. Things weren't happening in real time because of the asynchronous. You didn't have as much kind of the in-person experience disengaged. Combined, if that's still, I don't really know how much that's really still a thing, but maybe it is even implicitly. Like, yeah, it is convenient to like just not have to come to campus and just do a Zoom meeting and keep the camera off. I mean, I'll be honest with you about, I fall into that sometimes. We all have meetings where we're not really central to the thing, and it's easy to do that. But are we missing out on something? And then the second point is what there's been the big upheaval about education. Like, is the AI doing the thinking for us, giving us the instant answers? Did you guys hear about how they're trying to go? They're turning the clock back, like you're doing. Remember? Did you guys ever use the blue paper test books? Maybe ever they're talking about bringing those things back, right? Should I make you guys write essays on paper without the internet? Because, or do we have an honor code that I'm going to trust? I talked about that last class. I'm just going to trust that you're not using AI. I don't have the time or interest in checking for cheating because, again, I'm expecting you're all going to get A's. But, so the counter though, as all of this automation rises. And this is what I've been seeing in articles about, especially because you're taking a class here in the Calisano Computing College, tech jobs, which I don't think anybody's here from like software engineering. I don't think we have any major. You're from software. Well, you've taken software engineering classes and stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm in the computing.
Okay, but we're hearing a lot of worries about like early career people can't get jobs because all those entry level things that you had to learn, you still need to learn coding, but a lot of the entry level jobs are getting absorbed. They're gone.
Yeah, Amazon, my internship was at Amazon, and they were telling the interns that the next cohort of interns are decreasing by like 150 each headquarters.
150% or 150?
150 like interns each day.
Out of like 200 they normally do, they're going to cut 150, something like that.
They do like 400, I think, each headquarter,
Yeah.
depending on how big it is. So
Yeah.
like, mine is 150.
Right. Yeah. So, and even in GIS world, and even spatial data science world, in fact, I'm thinking next week I really want to look at some jobs postings. Let's look at what it takes to get a job with geospatial technology nowadays. It's always been the case you needed to know coding and programming. Now we've got AI. It's just getting harder, more difficult if you don't have skills. So human reliability is rare and valuable. So I think that's the take-home message from all of this. that, having these kind of professional skills, what I call old school professionalism, right? It's not really that old school. It's taking durable skills, things that are going to last with you forever, right? And these are things that in my own journey in life, in my career, that I've tried to constantly work on presence, right? And we kind of talked about this. Are you going to show up? Are you the person, like when the job interviews, you're going to be there on time, ahead of time? Are you here physically, mentally? Are you coming in your mind? You're engaged in the class as best as the class is engaging for you. Are you making eye contact with people? Are you prepared to speak without having notes or screens? Like when you go to that job interview, have you done the research on the company? I see this all the time. Like we're constantly hiring faculty, constantly. There's always a new position. You get so many job candidates that never bother to like look at the RET webpage. Seriously, you ask them like, do you guys? Oh, I should ask you. Do y'all know when I say NTID? Do you know what that is? That's a pretty core basic thing of RIT. Do you know what NTID is? The National Technical Institute of the Deaf. It's like basically it's like an RIT sort of 101 thing. RIT as the Tigers, the hockey team, Brick City, NTID, deaf people. Those are like the highest level things about RIT, right? So you get job candidates who will come that don't even know what it is, like because we want job candidates, faculty. Even though you're in this college, we aspire that you will work with other colleges. Hence, I keep mentioning Cali Babbitt. I've branched out from my college. I work with GI sustainability. So understanding things. Accountability, owning the work, even if you kind of used AI to get you there, but you still really have it on your own. And I think that's a really important thing. What did I hear the other day? It was interesting. AI is potentially a microwave. So in my generation, microwaves came around in the 1980s, and that was all the change, right? But we didn't stop using stoves. How many of you obviously use both a microwave and a stove, and they have different places depending on what it is you do, right? Here's a really good one. Accountability. Anticipating expectations instead of waiting for instructions. If there's one life skill I can have you take away, regardless of data science and all that, people that have the intuition to see a situation and process it and think and act without being told what to do, boy, you will do so good in your job. Because believe me, once you get in your job, you're going to have a manager who's busy and who's not going to be able to dish out a list of instructions. And that kind of even goes back to the talk of graduate versus undergraduate. I find, most younger undergraduates tend to really need a lot of structure. They're not as good yet at independent thinking. And that's kind of what, especially at a PhD program, you have to come through it being able to think independently, see a problem, react to it, respond, and so forth. So if that's something that you can really do, that's really great. We did talk about time management, just being consistent with deadlines, respecting other people's time, especially like when you interact with faculty, or as you go into the job market. If you get that one interview that you're going to show up, the person's busy, being respectful of their time, especially if they're giving you an opportunity. Just don't take it for granted. Have you guys gone to the career fair? What's the career fair like nowadays? Big long lines everywhere? Yeah, right? So it's you versus basically everybody else in a line of 300 people for a job. And so you come up there and the guy who's the person who's going to talk to you, respectful of their time. And then, thinking through. What do you think I mean by time management and thinking through? What does that mean? Yeah.
Maybe like thinking through your, I'll just repeat the sentence, but considering how you're already your time in the future as well, like making sure you're not overbooking yourself.
Yeah, that could be one thing. I think of thinking through almost like maybe even like a game of chess. Like you're anticipating what might be coming up. So I do that all the time. I've gotten really good at that because, like, in my job, when I do a research proposal, and maybe we can talk about that, when you write, I don't know if any of you will do this anytime soon, but when you write a proposal to something like the National Science Foundation, which again, I keep mentioning Callie Babbitt, Callie's been incredibly successful in her career at writing research grants that bring money in to then fund students, which I don't know if any of you guys have that going on. But when you get to that level in your career, you have to very much think through. You have to think of the big picture. So the grant's going to start in this year, then it's going to lead to this, then it's going to lead to that. When I put a class together, I have to think ahead all how the class is going to go, where it's, and that's kind of thinking beyond the immediate moment that you're in. Just, I've got to deal with getting to class today and do this assignment. But when you can really start to develop more, you might even call it like strategic thinking, when you're thinking longer term about bigger things and how they'll unfold. That's a really good skill to have. Okay. And these are durable skills. These are things that you will use forever, really. I mean, that's kind of one of the benefits. Again, if no one's ever just kind of sat down and had this kind of conversation with you, I think of so many people I know in my life that probably no one ever really just talked to them about like time management or thinking through, So that's, I think, one of the benefits you get from a graduate level education, or you should get, right? Okay. Any thoughts or questions on any of this stuff? Does this resonate with anybody? I don't know. Okay. Or you know all this stuff already? Yeah, speak your mind. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think, well, for me, this is definitely very pertinent. I feel that it's very important.
Okay.
Because I've noticed coming here, this is a tech school, and I'm not in tech, right? And museum studies is old and snooty, and all of those are dusty. And so a lot of these systems are still, despite COVID, are very much in place.
Yeah.
Like you dress well, you show up on time,
right?
Like all of these things.
Yeah.
And I think it's really a shame that that's lacking, starting to fade.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what you're getting with me. I'm becoming Roger Downs here. I'm becoming the old grizzled professor to pass on these kind of ideas too. But they're, like I said, they're durable, and so that's good that you're aware of that. Okay. So here's one. If you never thought about this, your professional identity, your ethos. Does anybody know do I even know what the word ethos means? What do I mean by ethos? Anybody ever heard like ethnographic? Yeah, what is that? What does it mean? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What? Whoa, getting Greek on me here? Logos pathos? Cool. It's a Greek word. Ethos, I think of ethos as like your internal identity, like who you are as a person, like let's look it up. Let's go. I borrowed it for the slides. The characteristic spirit of a culture, era, or community as manifested in its beliefs and aspirations. This one talks about the character, sentiment, moral nature, beliefs of a person. So I think that's a little more kind of where I was going with that. The sentiment, moral nature, guiding beliefs of who you are as a person, right? So why do I bring that up? You're like, what the heck does that mean? But like, again, as a graduate student, or, I am a researcher. Like I remember when I was a PhD student, I still honestly don't really feel 100%, but I'm a scientist. I mean, I have a PhD. Does that make me, you think of a scientist, I should have a white lab coat and I should be in the chemistry lab doing science. And we do, we have the College of Science, but developing that identity. So I am a researcher. I am a professional person. That is something I definitely resonate with. Because when you deal with people who don't aren't very professional. Like, no, I'm a professional person. When you interact with me, I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to communicate. I'm going to hopefully do what I say I'm going to do because I'm professional. That is my ethos. Those are my beliefs, values, et cetera, et cetera. So, in some sense, my work does reflect me. I very much, at this point in my life, I love being a professor. That's become my identity at this phase of my life. Because my work does reflect me because I put a lot of my own internal drive into it. So here's the prompt I have for you guys on this one. If someone described you professionally in one sentence, what would you want it to be? How about Jay?
Organized, helpful,
Okay. Anybody else? Does that resonate with anybody, or do you want to make something up on the spot if you never? Have you guys thought about that? Your identity, like, those of you that are graduate students, you consider yourselves researchers, or not? What's that? You think so? Well, what do you consider yourself when prompted? A well-organized person? Okay. Yeah, please. Yeah.
I think it's a hard question because I think such a big part of grad school is like the imposter syndrome phase of being surrounded by people who are everyone's so smart and like has so much knowledge. Sometimes you feel like you don't know if you're supposed to also be learning that.
Interesting.
So then having a label on yourself is difficult because we all deserve to be here, but you don't always feel that way.
Interesting. Yeah.
I agree with mindset. I feel like I feel most comfortable labeling myself as a student.
A student.
Just because I feel like some job titles come with a sense of like, not only a degree, but also a sense of like, if you have experience in that field that I, as a student, don't necessarily have that yet.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm just kind of improvising off what you just said. So you guys are all master's students. Are you with PhD students in your other classes? Is there are they clearly like making you feel like you're not, I don't know, like, or just curious about what your world is like?
I don't think so. I think it's more of an internal thing.
Okay.
Like, you're at the transition phase in your life where you've definitely taken a step up from undergrad.
Yeah.
And you made the decision to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just looking at the people around you and comparing yourself to other people can be hard because you're surrounded by people who know so much about things that maybe you don't know about. That doesn't mean that you don't also have knowledge about something that they don't know about.
Right. Okay. Yeah, please.
So we are all in the same class, and basically the first year we learn the same thing, the same exercises, same assignment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Like, in another way, like my undergraduate degree in geology, but I would never call myself a geologist. It's not like what I do every single day.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, identity formation, it's, it takes time and what you're comfortable with and so forth. But I mean, you have a degree in geology. You're a student of geology.
I feel like imposter syndrome.
No. Yeah. I hear you. This is totally random, but like one of my hobbies is juggling. So I remember hearing like, I juggle versus I am a juggler. Like, do you really say that you like? And they're like, well, I don't know where's like I can juggle 5 balls, therefore I'm a juggler. Like, so it's a thing in a lot of areas. So, okay. Thanks for the discussion though on that. So, but think about that as you go forward, even how you have to talk about yourself. Well, I am a student of computer science. This is what I do. I'm a researcher. I'm doing this. I'm a professional person. I think we have a lot of different ways that we can identify ourselves, so. Totally random thing. When I was putting these slides together, I was reminded of this. This is a really great. You guys ever heard of Booker T. Washington? Anybody know American history? Anybody ever listen to audiobooks? I don't know if anybody's into audiobooks. Okay. This link is in the, this link is in the class webpage. Let's kind of grab it from here. But if you really are interested in this kind of personal growth, professional development kind of stuff, I was reminded of this. So this is a book, Character Building by Booker T. Washington. When he was, as the thing says here, he was a what was it called? Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute. It's what they call a historically black HBCU. Historically black. What's the CU part? I don't remember. Okay, there we go. Well, anyways, it's a real famous one. If you listen to this, it's him just giving lectures. Well, it's his speeches that he would do to his students on all kinds of topics of character building. And if you think about the context, like an African American college in the early 20th century, like this was a really, really important place that had a lot of societal things that were coming against it. So just even look at the title, influencing by example. Have you done your best? Don't be discouraged. I thought I'd just throw it out there. If you're looking, this is not an assignment in the class. It's just my own recommendation if you're looking for something to look at these topics. And it's an audio. It's called LibriVox. They're open. They're books that are out of copyright in the public domain, and then audiobook readers read them. So it's kind of like a podcast, I guess, for the equivalent of it. But it's a really great resource. So, oh man, I went talking and talking. I'm almost out of time here. Let's see. All right. So thank you for that discussion. Like I said, that was just to set the context for the class. And we're not going to really go over those kinds of topics again. But I just wanted to kind of get that stuff out there. So thanks for the discussion. Let's move along to critical thinking and the art of analyzing and evaluating thinking with a view to improving it. Self-directed, self-disciplined, monitored, and self-corrective. Did you guys said you've all heard of critical thinking before I gave you that short reading? Did it come up in classes, or how has it come at you before? Yeah. Oh, Callie talks about this? Okay. All right. Well, let's check out your critical thinking skills then, right? So I'll just use the universal intellectual standards, right? Clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, depth, breadth, logic, significance, and fairness. So probably in a class like Callie's, I'm going to guess, she probably said, read this article, use critical thinking, make judgments. Great. You're getting a good graduate education. All right. So let's try it out then, especially because I'm starting to run out of time here. Okay. So what you see here is a statement. Using AI tools in college classes is bad for learning. And so if we were to use the universal intellectual standard of clarity, how might we apply the ideas of clarity to that statement? Yeah.
You would explain what were some examples why you think they're bad for learning?
Okay. Yep. More.
I was going to say the same.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe establish impact as well. Great example.
Okay. Anybody else? Any thoughts on that? How you would use clarity on that? The critical thinking standard of clarity on that statement. Yeah. And even then, what more specifically? Okay. Yeah. Raise your hand.
Comes to the same thing, like kind of evaluating the statement and words used. I get the message, but I think the words used are very specific.
Right.
Property or accuracy.
Yep.
College classes and that learning, I think just generalizing into these things.
Right. Just to move things along, thank you. Like, so you might even say AI tools in college classes is bad, right? Well, what do you mean by bad? Could you clarify? Is it, and that if you get into like like more academic kind of writing, you always try to avoid, if you can quantify it, like on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being amazing, 1 being terrible, like terms like bad are very subjective. So what does that mean to be bad? Could you clarify? Okay. How about the next one then? Logic. Most people check their phones during lectures. So lectures are an ineffective way to teach. Now, how would you pick that apart using the universal standard of logic? Yeah.
Is it the lectures that are being ineffective, or is it the phone? Since it originally the problem, so is there a way to tackle the phone? It's a separate issue than the lecture.
Right. Yeah, that's good. There's no right or wrong answers here. I'm just gonna get. Any other thoughts on that one? Logic. Does it all make sense together? Does it follow from the? Yeah.
I think you could make an argument here, but you need a lot of like extra steps in between to kind of explain how that.
Yeah, that's very good. Yep.
Yeah, it is. I was double checking. I think that's like the red herring logical fallacy, where it's like you're trying to bring something irrelevant to disguise under different message. It's like it doesn't correlate. It don't correlate.
Okay. Yeah. Does this all make sense together? Right. Like, because the sky is blue, therefore I'm going to go speeding on the highway. Like, wait, what? But nowadays, again, we're not going to get into politics, but a lot of things you hear in the news nowadays, this stuff's more relevant than ever. How about then fairness? Students who don't participate in class discussions just don't care about the material. If we use the standards of fairness. Oh, everyone's raising their hands. Yeah.
Based on the last line, I don't think they're being, rather than sympathy, I don't think they're being empathetic towards the people in class. Some people are needing more time for others to participate to digest something.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
You also just generalize it. You said like students who don't participate in class discussion. It might be you don't know individual student.
Right. Yeah, I mean, these are all good responses. Any other thoughts on that? Yeah.
You are really being open-minded in the sense of why they are participating or any other things that are happening outside of it.
Right.
And I also think sympathy might be the wrong word. I agree it should be empathy, because sympathy comes from a place that you can relate to them, whereas empathy means you're extending compassion to the leader.
Great. Using critical thinking on the critical thinking. It's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So again, as we get into the semester, when we start getting, assignments of academic journal articles, these kind of things will come up. And again, I really encourage you, these are life skills, because we hear a lot about how, as a side comment, an RAT thing, there's the, I think it's called, you ever heard of the Fram chair in critical thinking? They actually will have applied critical thinking. This is a whole big this was the person they named it at, the guy who probably gave money to do it, but there is a whole applied critical thinking. This is like, as an educational institution, this is the kind of thing, besides specific skills. I've learned to do 3D printing, database management, tangible welding, whatever. These are the kind of other kind of skills we want you to come away from. If no one's ever even told you about critical thinking, how to apply it. So that's why it's a high level. I don't know if anybody knows Professor Schneider. She's been the chair of this, but critical thinking in the AI world, social potential of our, there's all kinds of, just FYI, this is a thing at RIT if you never were aware of it. So this topic. Okay. All right. So with that, let's wrap it up with the last thing I want to talk about. And it finally kind of steers it back to this class, critical spatial thinking. Any initial impressions on that article? Was there any thoughts anybody had on that paper? What'd you think? Yeah. What? Professionalism. We've showed up to class, did the reading, ready to talk. I just spent. That's all good.
But I just wanted to say that it really does open my eyes and kind of put the words on paper about I already kind of have.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really good to see all the information that I kind of knew.
Right. Okay. That's all good. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
I think for me, something that really stood out was that they painted critical thinking as this was for the other one, but I like how the other one paints critical thinking as a habit and not just as a skill.
Yeah.
Because when you apply critical thinking as a habit, it's more ingrained in your life, whereas
Right.
as a skill, you just use it from time
Right.
to time.
That's a good point. That's good. Yeah, it's not just the hammer you take out of the box and use it occasionally, right? Any other? Yeah.
I like that they had 4 different components of it. They had
Yeah.
space, spatial dependence, distance, and location.
Right.
And I feel like on surface level, there's things that sound similar, but they explain those components really well.
Okay. Cool. All right. So let's because this is now actually this is relevant to our class, spatial data science, right? We're going to work with data sets. We're going to run them through methods. We're then going to create visual. We'll start using more cool graduate terms. We're going to create spatial representations because that sounds cooler than maps. But they are, it's a representation, a visual representation with a lot of. She talked a lot about that in the colors you choose, the map projection you use. All of that is going into a map, right? Whether or not you thought about it that way. So that's why I have this little exercise we can try out. You can probably see it in the slide. So the question on this one, I'm going to get a bigger screen too so we can see it. Okay. So how does the choice between mapping standardized data, the top map, where it's showing poverty as a percentage of the population, versus raw counts on the bottom, the total number of people in poverty, change the story that the map is telling? Yeah, your hand. Yeah, jump right up now.
I think, obviously the top tells more of the story, and I think it's a better example of I don't know how you pronounce the word,
Choropleth
map,
Mhm.
whereas the bottom one, it doesn't give you a lot of insight, and it offers a lot of room for over generalizations.
Okay.
And also I don't know, if a company were to release that would be a bad look on them, because it wouldn't paint the picture they want to see, would actually give the wrong idea, whereas the first image gives more range and more of that story that they might be sharing.
Okay. Yeah.
Adding on that, also kind of contrasting. I feel like something that you hear a lot about in data analytics classes is that with visualizations, you want to say the most with the least. And so that's why sometimes graphs where you highlight only the most relevant aspects in terms of like an audience member just reading it, sometimes it's more helpful because if there's too much structure, then you just give it answer.
Okay.
But I do feel like the person has more range, but sometimes it's the simplicity that people.
Okay. In terms of then telling the story about poverty in America, what do you think issues might be with that bottom map? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say so much for range. It kind of makes it seem like there's no poverty at all in some areas, but it's a really nuanced idea. So
Right.
it's trying to make it true.
Yeah. You want to add to that?
This may be the moving on detail, but I noticed in the bottom, you really can't see state lines. Even if you aren't graphing data, you can't see any lines on the top end. I don't know if it's a trick on the brain, but I feel like I see the states a lot better at the top end versus the bottom end. Like I can't even recognize New Jersey in the bottom end, but I can recognize New Jersey in the top end. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Okay. Yeah, I think the top one is counties. I think the county lines are there. they're just hard to see, and it could be the projector. But right, I mean, standardized maps, right? It's just using, that's a real basic idea with choropleth mapping that we just heard. You generally don't want to show the raw number of things, right? So this is probably like San Diego. So there happen to be, if there's out of a city of 1 million people, there's 100,000 people in poverty versus like some area like in the rural South, it's a county with 100 people and 90 of them are in poverty, right? That's a more meaningful, if you normalize that, that's a more meaningful way to show the data. Because this makes it, everyone's fine in America. It's just those cities that are problems. When in fact, rural West Virginia, the rural South, even like when you normalize it, the bigger cities actually don't reflect poverty as in terms of that way of doing it. So that's a good example of critical spatial thinking map interpretation. And this is what you really need to learn coming out of this class as you start to make maps, visual representations of data. Because every little choice you've done, and she talked about that, whether consciously or unconsciously affects the message going out, right? So let's follow up on that with this other one. So the red-blue county map at the top shows which candidates received the majority of votes in each county. Romney red, Obama blue, while the red, purple, blue map shows the percentage breakdown of votes in each county. So which one better avoids what's called ecological fallacy and why? And what do you
The second one, because it helps like the bigger states that are predominantly, I don't know how to describe this, but like the states like New York City where the states like New York where they are red, but there are certain areas that make the entire state blue are better represented in the bottom map than the top map. Whereas the top map would paint the picture that the United States is predominantly red.
Right.
When it's mainly like cities that make up the spread that we see.
Okay. Anybody want to add to that? Yeah.
I think it also provides additional information about how the movement of political, I guess, alignment in the sense that, for example, near California, right, in the upper map it goes really red. But there you kind of see as it moves further east, it kind of fades to the
Yeah. Any other thoughts or comments? This always comes up in election year. You see these kind of maps on TV, right? And a lot of times you'll see the top one. But now that you're a critical spatial thinker, it's basically the same issue as this, right? Because if you just use raw counts, the majority of people, as opposed to a percentage, it's creating these very sharp divisions. It makes it look like the whole middle of the country is all red, whereas when you're doing a percentage, you're seeing more subtlety of what's actually really happening, and it's telling the story better versus a very binary kind of, just sort of the majority. Okay? Yeah.
I would argue, I'm thinking about electoral college maps.
Okay.
And I think in that case, it might be better. And I know this is like campus, so that's not the same. But I think sometimes it is a little better to have a binary because it just makes it more.
Yes.
Oh, like these states have this many electoral college races.
Right.
All I know is this.
Because I think in that case, which is a great example, I think that's more like it's either win or lose. Yeah. So I got all the electoral votes. Boom, Colorado is red. So the whole thing, or blue. I don't know. Just who knows? But yeah, you don't really in that case because it's usually winner takes all, right? You either win outright. So yeah. So that's a good example then of just thinking of there's no, you as the map maker have to make those decisions about how you're going to present the data with the intended audience and the intended message. And if you're not, as we start, some of you said that you were new to ArcGIS Pro, and we're going to very quickly, even by next week, start to make some basic maps. It's really easy to start whipping out colors and data classifications and without any thought when it just gets to button pushing and so forth like that. So that's kind of why I wanted to go over some of this stuff backdrop as we go forward. Hi, this is Brian Tomaszewski. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and share this video. Also, please consider subscribing to this channel and clicking the notification icon to stay up to date on new videos from this channel. Thanks for watching.